Hello and welcome back to another episode of Nick Tiffany's Movie Reviews, coming at you online and in print format at nicktiffany.com, in audio format wherever you get your podcasts, and even in video on YouTube. Today we are talking the latest in Disney Star Wars. Streaming now on Disney Plus is The Acolyte, a series created by Leslie Headland. Headland, someone I've been familiar with for a while. When I associate her with film or TV, it's usually in a comedic sense. If you've seen Russian Doll, Sleeping with Other People, she helped write the remake of About Last Night. Very, very talented writer. So I was really curious to kind of see this jump into live action Star Wars. Not necessarily a funny series, but almost immediately watching this series, Disney was gracious enough to send me the first 4 episodes. So I got to take a look at those over the course of a couple days, kind of revisit, really sit and think about this project for a while. And I've kind of been listening and talking with some other film critics and TV critics just about the series and what they've been enjoying and kind of what they've pulled from the theme. There's certainly still an element to it, like a lot of the Disney Star Wars shows, I would say, where it is still kind of appealing to a younger fan base. There's definitely adult rated or more adult content in some of these episodes for sure. Nothing that goes so overboard though, because these episodes, they're filmed very much like the prequel series, I would say, whether it is the script, the dialogue, the conversations that are being had, whether it's kind of looking at the Jedi in a different light as well and kind of basing a lot of beliefs on how they kind of enforce and rule over their different domains and just how they kind of serve as almost puppets for the government as well. And it kind of delves into not necessarily trade federation negotiations, but especially after watching Phantom Menace again for its anniversary, I guess last month. There was a lot of politics, and there's a lot of postulating about the Jedi. There are a lot of thoughts that people have towards the laziness, toward of this pedestal that they've sort of placed themselves on. And everybody knows what it means to be a Jedi. And even from the beginning, our young character Osha, who we kind of follow, her and her twin sister Mai, she's force sensitive. We're kind of delving into that world too, where you've got the witches. And so for those who maybe aren't as familiar with the Clone Wars series, with Admiral Thrawn, with this idea of some of the witches and this idea that the Force can exist outside of the Jedi. For me, it is still more of a newer concept. I've kept up with some of the TV show, certainly talk about the films with friends as well. But this newer age Star Wars, I would say, for fans of live action who haven't really watched some of the cartoons, there's nothing wrong. This is all normal. This has been happening for a while, and I would definitely urge you to go back and watch some of the Clone Wars series. But I like that this film, I mean, it felt like Star Wars to me, or this series. I keep calling it a film, and maybe that's due to the credit of it feels a lot more than just an episodic. It's still kind of hampered by those 30-minute run times here and there, but that's kind of a Disney Plus gripe that maybe I've got between Marvel and this as well. Maybe I'm spoiled with HBO and those hour-long episodes. But the way that these episodes progress, how they're filmed, the story that they're kind of building towards and telling, each episode I was kind of like, okay, I need another one. I need to know a little bit more about how this Jedi got here or where they were found. I've really enjoyed the series so far. Jung-jae, who plays Master Soul in this film, I was reading a cool article about it. You might know him from Squid Game, and he learned English to take on this project. As a fan of Star Wars, his life, he was like, hey, I would just jump at this opportunity, and kind of hinted at that he built his character, not built it around Qui-Gon Jinn, but Qui-Gon Jinn was certainly an influence, and I can certainly see how that's kind of bled into the performance in the film as Master Saul, sort of the calmness that he brings, an understanding of what the Jedi are supposed to do and what they're supposed to stand for, but also realizing too that so much does exist in a gray area, and it isn't just black and white, and there are sometimes exceptions to the rules, and this Jedi might not always make the popular decision, but I am really a fan of him just in general, and I thought it was really cool what he took on to kind of play this role. Amanda Stenberg, she plays Mai, and she plays Osha, these two twins, essentially separated at birth, not at birth, separated in their younger years. There is some confusion, perhaps, about who survived on each side, not necessarily knowing that the other's around. People kind of believing maybe one is actually the other, so you bring some of that mystery in there. You've got Carrie-Anne Moss, who is around for a little bit as another Jedi. Great to see her. And it was something that I really enjoyed about this series so far as well. While it does have lightsabers and it does have your classic Star Wars action, there's a lot of martial artistry in this TV series, actually. A lot of the combat is without lightsaber, whether it's hand-to-hand, using knives, using different kind of weapons, even some of the Force pushes or different ways that the Jedi are controlling the Force are done in this kind of martial arts way that really, especially with Carrie-Anne Moss, kind of brings your mind to the Matrix. But it's really cool to see in this Star Wars setting because you were so used to blasters and lasers, and so actual hand-to-hand combat and some combat of the mind is always appreciated here. So the Acolyte, I'm a fan so far. I'm really curious to see where it's going to keep building to, who this potential Sith Lord, Dark Force user is in the background. They're certainly doing a good job of keeping that intrigue, I feel like, whoever he or she may be in the background. And having this film set 100 years before the prequels, I do think it gives you this feeling of, okay, the Jedi are so comfortable right now. And you understand how it won't take much soon enough to topple the entire Jedi Order. And so viewing it from that angle too, I think has kind of been really interesting, and just looking at maybe where the Jedi assumed they were at their peak of power, of influence, of status, and then how quickly that may crumble in the films to come. So The Acolyte is streaming right now. I believe the first 2 episodes are out on Disney Plus. If you've got the Hulu combo package, you could find it there. I think it's definitely worth a look. I say that as a fan of some of The Mandalorian, a great fan of Andor. I feel like this is certainly more in line with the kind of Star Wars storytelling that I appreciate, whether it's also character driven and building upon the world around it. And the visual effects are great. I don't know how much of the volume was used or wasn't used in this, but especially comparing it to some of the other Disney TV properties as far as Star Wars has gone, The Acolyte looks phenomenal. I was watching it, and maybe that's why I keep referring it as a movie, referring to it as a movie, is because it has a cinematic quality to it that some of those others kind of scratched the surface of, perhaps, but maybe didn't quite achieve in their storytelling. So check out The Acolyte. It's one that I'm going to be going back to. Would love to hear some of your thoughts on it once you've watched it. Star Wars fans, what are you thinking? I've seen a lot of chatter from some foolish people out there. The audience score for Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Tomatoes is not the benchmark for anything. So I will always beat that drum. Watch the series yourselves, make up your mind, and then come and discuss it with me, because I think there's a lot to talk about once we can kind of do a little spoiler conversation. Thanks again, as always, for listening. You can catch us at NT Movie Reviews on all social media networks, podcast platforms, and even on YouTube. Thanks again, and have a great day.